As well as working out how much it's going to cost us to buy something, in this case a car, and in the assignment a house, we need to also consider the running cost of the things we've bought. Now in a house it's going to be slightly different, and we'll come to that when we get to it. But for a car, the costs that I think we would have to consider are the insurance cost, the fuel cost, servicing and road tax. I know there are other costs associated with a car, but I think these are fairly common ones, and we can derive some sort of common values or useful values for that. So in order to handle this, we need to hold data. We need to hold data of two types. We need to hold the cost of each of those things that we're going to consider as a running cost, and also the frequency. That is the period of thing that you're describing. So we may want to say our insurance is going to be so much per year, but our fuel is so much per week. So we want to define that when we are handling the data so that we can work out the right values and compare them with each other. So we need to create a new class, obviously, but that's going to be a running cost class. So I'm going to do add a class, and I'm going to call it running costs in due course when the template's initialized. Because remember, we consider each one as being an individual thing. So I've added my class. I will make it public, of course. And we've now got our class, and we'll just save that. So that's the one we're going to be working with. So let's look at the data that we're going to store in this class, and here it is here. We've got a running cost. I'm going to store insurance, which is an integer. We'll say that we're always going to use round numbers for the values. And then the insurance period is a character, a car, a single letter. And so we'll have a code set that we'll use for weekly, monthly, and annual and so forth, and we'll just make sure that we always know what that code set is. We'll keep consistent with it so that we can work with it in the same way regardless of which one we're working with. Once again, fuel, servicing and road tax are ints, and the periods are going to use the same classifications as we've got for insurance. So that's the data we're going to store in our class. And once we've got a class, we'll start to build the calculator, which once again will be a method only, just like loan calculator. And that will manage the calculation of all of the items that we need to work with so that we can end up with a cost structure that we can display to the end user. So let's start to build our class, and we'll put some comments in first just to make sure that we get the right things. So insurance. I've just noticed I've got insurance something there, so that's okay. So that's what we're going to put in here. We're going to put the various things that we're going to do, and I'm going to do it in two slightly different ways for you, just to remind you of how we can create these attributes, these data members that we're going to do. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to do the insurance, and I'm going to do prop full. Tab, int, and that's going to be insurance, small letter to begin with, so that's the private member, and then tab, insurance. So that's the data member. Now let's put in beside each one, we're going to put the period. So prop full again, though we don't really need to, car, which gives us a character, and this is going to be insurance without making mistakes, insurance period, and then because the public property always begins with a capital, and that's what we do. Now I'm going to do exactly the same thing down below, just to populate all of this for you so that you don't have to sit and watch me painfully typing stuff out. So for servicing, I'm just going to do it slightly differently. So I'm going to do prop instead of prop full. And this is going to be an int servicing. And it shows you that because we don't have to manipulate the data, it's perfectly acceptable in this case just to use the public property and set it up using the prop rather than the prop full. So prop, car, servicing, period, and that's just as good as doing the prop fill for this case. But I wanted to show you can do that in the two ways, and once again I'm going to just go into the road tax, but I'll go back to prop fill maybe on that one. So I've now filled in all the data members that we need for this class. So let's just do that because I was debugging a minute ago. So we've now got a full class that's going to handle all of the running costs that we need: insurance, fuel, servicing, and road tax. So save that. And now what we can do is start to build the calculator.